Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Hey friends, and welcome back to another episode of Genuine Business Stories, where we have real front porch chats that inspire success. This show is about real people, real businesses, and the lessons you only learn by showing up, taking risk, and staying in the game. Today we're sitting down with a business owner whose work focuses on prevention, responsibility, and preparing people before life puts them in a high-pressure situation. My guest is Dean Myers Jr., founder of Wheelz USA, a mobile driving training company that brings hands-on, state-of-the-art defensive driving education directly to teens, adults, and organizations. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's get ready for a great story full of insight, grit, and inspiration. Dean, how are you doing today?
Good morning, and thank you for having me on.
Great. Let's dive right in. Let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, my name is Dean Myers, of course, and I am an HSE specialist, so it's a health, safety, and environmental specialist, and I've been in that field for 36 years now. A father, a husband of 34 years, which will be in March.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I have 5 grandkids. So
that's awesome.
That's a little bit about myself.
Fantastic. So when you were a kid, did you have any side hustles to earn money, like mowing lawns, helping the neighbors, lemonade stand, anything like that?
So I did. My first job when I was about 13 years old was shoveling horse manure, believe it or not, out of stalls for a farmer that was in our area in New Jersey. So that was my first, pay.
Good learning experience?
Yeah, it was pretty wild, to tell you the truth. And my mom, the reason why I did that is I wanted a motorcycle. And my parents at the time had gone through a divorce. And my mom was like, you want a motorcycle? You got to earn your keep. So I actually went out and got a job at a local farm and shoveling horse manure for a couple of years, and then got into the building houses.
So you had somewhat of an entrepreneurial spirit just to make extra money since you were pretty young.
I did, yes. I had that drive.
So was there a moment or any experience that sparked your idea for Wheelz USA, and what kind of led you into that, to going into that business?
So again, I've been being in the safety field for 36 years, you get to see all the fatalities when you subscribe to like OSHA or MSHA, which is the Mine Safety and Health, and DOT notification segments. So I was seeing a lot of vehicle crash fatalities and hearing people that have lost family members. So that's pretty much what sparked the Training Wheelz USA idea.
Well, your equipment, I've said, and it is quite amazing how realistic it is for equipment that you've got that's all tech-driven, So who influenced you the most when deciding to start this business?
I would say a company that I used to work for doing this type of business. And while I was there, I got to talking with the owners and some of the trainers in that company, and they encouraged me to start my own business based on the knowledge I had and the way I presented my training. So that's what triggered Training Wheelz USA to actually come into fruition.
Good. So who would you say influenced you the most? If you had any one individual, or it was just a combination of a lot of things?
I would say my family. I have adult children now, but during my course of trying to lay this program out, everybody, in my family was saying, this would be a great thing to offer to the public or offer to customers, businesses. So that's how I got the drive to actually make it come to, into play.
So when you started it, did you start with a business plan, or did it just kind of hit the ground running fairly quick because you had customers with your background that needed you to help serve them?
I actually did a business plan. So I
Good.
I wanted to have everything laid out on paper. So that way, when I went to present it to banks for funding or an investor, I had everything dialed in to know how it was going to run. So there wasn't any question.
Good deal. So when you started, you were going to banks and other investors to get started and get the equipment that you have.
Yes, sir, I was.
Yeah. Most businesses don't start with an idea. They start with a problem, and it sounds like you, with your passion, had seen the problem and the need that the public has for what you have to offer for safety when they're behind the wheel in a vehicle.
That is correct. Currently, we're seeing, according to the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, we're seeing right now over 43,000 vehicle crash fatalities in the U.S. Some are estimating that it's hitting 46,000 vehicle crash fatalities, which is a massive problem. And I wanted to create a business to make sure that people know how to go home to their family every day. Loss of a loved one is painful, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So what are you seeing from our driving apps? I look at vehicles, I'll leave unnamed, but electric vehicles. When you look at the dash, it's almost like I'm looking at my computer system at home.
Yes.
And I know from the insurance side that can be somewhat of a distraction. We've got our phones, even though we're not supposed to be on them. What are you statistically seeing in your business for what's driving for distractions kind of, to the major part? Is it the phones and the fact that...
So on the distractive parts, the number one cause of distracted driving vehicle crashes is rubbernecking. The second is texting. Third is talking on the cell phone and driving at the same time. So those top three, you see a lot. Another thing is that we're seeing excessive speeding, which is a major cause of fatalities on our roads. People just don't think about obeying the traffic signals or traffic signs, posted speed limits.
So are you telling me that people think that the speed limit is a suggestion and not the law?
Yes. Many people have this belief that they can do 10 to 15 miles per hour over the posted speed limit, which is not the case. That's actually false. The posted speed limit is the law. Our opinions are not the law. That's how I put it.
So when you started off, what were some of the biggest obstacles that you started facing that you overcame to get your business moving forward?
The biggest thing is getting people to understand that simulated driver training is the best way to train. Why? Because I can throw things at them that you can't do in a practical training sense. If you're online doing driver training, it's great for methodology-wise. The problem is if you don't put people in that situation, they're never going to learn. So on the simulator, I can change the weather. I can change road conditions. I can have people walk out in front of them to see if they're properly using scanning techniques. I can have people come up from behind them or alongside of their vehicle to see if they have that situational awareness or are using situational awareness. So these are things that I can do on a simulator that you can't do in a practical world training.
So when somebody takes your training classes, are any of them accredited for defensive driving or that translates back? Or I know they're going to see a savings by learning your method of driving just in not having additional claims, but are any of them with the certificates, like, do they count as a defensive driving class or not?
So from what I've seen, it doesn't officially count as a defensive driving class, right? The state, I teach techniques. I don't teach people how to drive. People learn how to drive from the state, right? So we have our training books from the state. We have to go through that. But the techniques is what gets people into trouble or out of trouble. So that's...
So one of the good things, though, you have is, from me looking at your business, it would be good for parents to utilize this for their teenage kids just starting to drive.
Absolutely.
Even after they get their learner's permit, their kids need to be coming to see you so that you can help teach them proper technique.
That is correct, yes, because we can teach them the proper driving techniques.
Yeah. So was there ever a moment when you started this that you started questioning, should I have done this? Or
I would say no. All right, I've been familiar with simulated driver training since 1997. And then in 2005, I went to work for a company here in Spring, Texas. And when I first got there, we were having at least 22 vehicle incidents per year, which was costing the company, over $380,000 a year, right? So when I got involved with, when I knew about the simulators, I presented that idea to the business owner at the time, and he thought, well, this is going to be too expensive to buy a simulator. And basically, we went out. He flew us all out to Salt Lake City to visit with the company who builds the simulators. He bought 2 of them. We put it in place. Within the first year, we had a 94% decrease in vehicle crashes within the first year, just by using the simulators.
One of the fascinating things with the simulators is NASCAR actually has a driver that learned racing and on simulators and not on the track like I'd say the majority of them did, where their parents started them out and they were going through the circuit.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, simulators are best way to train because there's no risk, right? If you crash, no big deal. You don't hurt. I
disagree. There's a risk to your ego. Trust me.
Ego is one thing, yes.
You already bruised my ego when I got in there. And I was like, I'm not doing this, Dean.
Yeah.
It was kicking my behind. But it was amazing equipment. It let me start to see the differences of years of learned behavior, right or wrong, because I'm not as young as some people are anymore.
Right.
Getting up there in age, So as you look at your business, can you point to a time where there was a breakthrough, whether it was a contract or something that you got where you just it let you kind of smile and go, this is why I'm doing this?
I would say, yeah. So I did training for a company with the Texas United Management Group here in Houston, Texas, and they had tractor trailer drivers that hauled brine, right? And they were having some issues. And one of the gentlemen that is now their safety director, I used to work with him in my previous employment, and he gave me a call. He said, "Hey, can you help us out?" So we did. I trained about 20 of his drivers. Took a week to train them, and I keep following up with him to see how his drivers are doing. And he had stated that they saw a massive improvement in their driving techniques, so that those drivers that I trained ended up getting awards for safe driving habits, reducing risks. So that's I know it works. And I like to hear comments like that.
Well, I think that's fantastic. Is there anything that you've altered as you've started going through because you figured out that it helped people learn a little better? Because you've got a lot of experience in this.
Yeah, I got quite a bit of experience.
So, as you get started, when did you really, or is it more a passion, or when did you start thinking about the money side of it, so that you could join your passion with the business side of it? Because I know you had a business plan, and I know you were thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I also know from talking to you that helping people, that's a real passion, and I find as a business owner that's something we end up having to mold together, our passion with our profitability.
Yeah, it is a passion. I'm not too concerned about the money. I believe that the money will come as people see the benefits that this type of program actually saves their loved ones' lives or their company drivers' lives, and also saving the company's money. So that's the biggest thing. So it is a passion more so than revenue right now. Would I like to see the revenue? I believe it will come into play when people start realizing that this type of training is just way more beneficial than any other type of driver training program on the market today.
So right now, are you doing a lot of just reinvesting what you earn back into your business to watch it grow for you?
Yes, correct. I don't take a paycheck right now from Training Wheelz USA. Not yet. My ultimate goal will be, so that way I can focus all of my efforts on doing this, but we need the business first.
Yeah. So what would you say, what expenses surprised you the most at first that maybe we're unforeseen. A lot of us as we do our business plan, we kind of weigh out what we think we're going to have cost or where we're needing to put our money, and there seems to always be something that we go, I wasn't banking on that yet.
I think the biggest thing that I didn't lay out was understanding. So if you're a company that has company vehicles and the vehicle's registered under the company, the state, or I should say the county in which I live, charges you a personal use tax. So if I'm using my company vehicle for personal use, they tax me on it. So that was the only thing that caught me off guard. But we've straightened that out and just moved forward.
Well, that's good. Revenue feeds the business, but your discipline is what's keeping it alive as you grow this. And as you listen to feedback from customers, are you finding anything that you can take back to the systems, or are you finding in many cases you're needing to show the customers in the educational sense where they need to correct what where their mindset is?
So basically, yeah, we show them how to correct the mindset. That's the biggest thing, is altering people's mindset. A lot of vehicle crashes, about 94% of vehicle crashes are due to poor decision making. So Training Wheels USA coaches the driver as they go through the simulation on proper driving techniques to change that methodology or change their habits to create better driving habits.
So generically speaking, give us a couple of examples of what you see where somebody will come in and feel pretty confident in their driving ability, and the more they get into the simulation, you're seeing that yourself in the simulator start correcting some of their behavior.
So the biggest one is hand positioning. Most people will drive with one hand on the wheel. That doesn't give you full control of your vehicle if something should happen in front of you. And another thing is following distance. A lot of people have the 2 car length or 3 car length following distance, and it's really supposed to be a minimum of a 4-second following distance. So we teach those proper speed and space managements.
I do prefer the more, but I started that, Dean, because my mind doesn't know how to shut off from business, and I had to learn. I needed the extra time some days where I don't realize it, where my mind is doing something, and I need the time to register. They're stopping, and I leave a pretty good gap when I'm on the road just for that reason, because I learned as I started aging that mind does not as quickly hit that brake when it gets busy as it did before, that was just kind of automatic, and now it's kind of like, I got to plan a little bit for what I'm doing because my mind can get occupied.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do they call it? When you will drive down the road for 4 or 5 miles, even though you know where you're going, all of a sudden you realize you've been road hypnotized and you don't remember the past 4 or 5 miles. It's just kind of gone. And it's not that you're not aware of the traffic beside you, but it's roads you drive all the time, and then you're going, when did I get to here?
Yeah, it's complacency. Yep,
and
it's complacency.
I'm sure that's a lot of accidents you've seen during those times.
It is. It's true.
So as you got into your business, did you reflect back on how you got your very first customer?
Yes, I did. And that was basically with the company who invested in Training Wheels USA, they had drivers. So they were my first customer. So we trained for them. I trained about 172 of their employees, and we saw a massive decrease in bad driving habits because we have cameras. They have cameras in their vehicles, so we get to see all the stuff that the drivers are doing when it's triggered. Playing on the cell phone or talking on the cell phone, or even just holding the cell phone up in their hand, looking at a map, right, on their GPS. So we dialed into all those aspects, and we saw a major decrease in some bad driving habits.
So when you take somebody out of their vehicle into your simulator, do any of them have the guts to pick that phone up while you're teaching them and they're driving?
So that is part of our 4-hour program. We offer the 4-hour defense methodology, and the D represents distracted driving. So yes, we actually have them drive in a distracted manner to show what could happen.
I know when I was using your simulators, for me and some of the stuff that we've talked about, you'd have to pay attention. Otherwise, I'd feel like I was on a boat a little bit until you get an understanding of, and like any new vehicle you get into, every vehicle responds differently. But it took me a little bit to start seeing how your simulator responded.
Yes.
And then it was all ego going, we're going to get out of here. Dean, thanks for showing me. Let's talk about your business.
Yeah, these simulators that I use are state of the art.
They're amazing.
They're the top line on the market today, and they're all based on feedback, right? So if you do something, it's going to tell you that you're doing something wrong. If you go up on a curb, the steering wheel will shake just like you went up on a curb. If you go off the edge of the road, like hit the rumble strips, your steering wheel will shake just like your real vehicle will. So
it's the most realistic simulator I have ever been in my life. Your equipment's absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And a little scary too, because it was so amazing. Because you're sitting there and you're going, this feels like I'm actually out in my vehicle.
Yeah. And normally, Clint, so we always put somebody, you don't just come into my class and just jump on the simulator and start doing drives, right? The first thing you'll do is you'll do what they call an acclimation drive. It gets the human body used to driving without feeling G-forces. G-forces play a major role in our driving ability, right? And when you come in on a simulator, you're not feeling the G-forces. So we put you on an acclimation drive so your brain and your body can get acclimated with that.
Yeah. And when my daughter was younger, and at my age, I came where vehicles didn't have computers. You felt them underneath you. So I go to teach my daughter what it feels like in rainy weather when your back end starts going. So I take the traction control off without ever thinking that they're going to have other stuff than computer. It about put that stupid vehicle in the ditch because it did not respond the way every other vehicle I'd owned responded,
Right.
So I had to laugh and tell my daughter, ignore that. Never mind, you're driving a car with a vehicle and you better let it help you. But I am kind of old, so it was a little different. I grew up with vehicles that there wasn't a computer in, and you felt it sitting, while you were sitting in there with what you needed to react.
And I did too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just turned 60, so we didn't have computers back then.
No. And that was a lot of years ago, but it was sure a learning experience real quick.
Yes, sir.
And another one of those humbling moments for a dad when you're fixing to teach your daughter something and your vehicle teaches you something that you're going, wait a second, traction control's off. This shouldn't be still responding.
All right.
So what have you found marketing-wise that helps with driving business into your company?
Personally, I believe that TV would probably be the biggest and best marketing, right? I've tried LinkedIn, I've tried Instagram, I've tried some others, and I'm just not getting the feedback. You get people that'll like it, right? They click on like, but you don't get any response from it, right? So I believe that a TV campaign is probably the best to launch Training Wheels USA on a much bigger scale than where I'm sitting right now.
Where you can actually show somebody in the simulator and to how it's working as you're talking about the business and what you can save people.
Do that. And I mean, the biggest thing is, I can send out emails all day long describing how great the program is, but unless people get to touch it, sit on it, drive it, and try it, they may not see the benefits, right? So demos are available. I can bring the trailer to a high school or a college or a company business or a DOT facility, whatever it takes to get them to realize, the benefits of simulated driver training.
So what would you say is kind of your split between corporations and teaching them or teaching a student, a mom and dad call and go, Dean, I want to get my student in. Where are you finding with that business? What's driving?
I would say time. A lot of people in the public sector either don't have the 4 hours to spare or even the 2 hours. We offer a 2-hour class for more seasoned drivers, right? It's actually investing in that time to learn these proper techniques. So that's the biggest thing. Corporations will, they set up a schedule and we just execute and get it done.
Yeah. So as you're going through this, have you found a way while you continue to grow your business, how you measure your growth and how you measure that versus your marketing, what it's driving in versus the relationships that you've already gotten? That those relationships will call and go, Dean, I need you to come teach my drivers.
So I would say that so saving somebody's life is probably the biggest thing that I'm concerned about, right? And I believe that when the word of mouth gets out there, this company, Training Wheels USA, helped my child or helped me learn techniques, and I almost had an incident, but I recognized it and I was able to avoid it because I was trained how to avoid it. So that's how I believe that this company will expand, will grow to where I want it to be.
Yeah, I think as an outsider looking in, that you'll see a lot of growth because of your confidence in your ability to teach people how to do the right thing.
Thank you.
So you started solo. Are you looking to build a team to eventually get other remote trailers with all of your items in it that you need to go teach, or what are kind of your thoughts on growing your business?
Yes, the game plan is I am solo right now, so it's just myself doing everything, training, hauling the trailer to locations. Eventually, my game plan, or I should say in my business plan and the plan in my head, is to have different regions of the U.S. So I want to have 3 regions. The Western region, which will cover a certain number of states. Your Central region will cover a certain amount of states, and then your Eastern region will cover multiple states as well. And the game plan is to have at least 4 to 5 trailers covering each one of those regions. And yes, I will have drivers, multiple driver trainers, to haul the equipment around out in those regions. So that's the ultimate game plan.
So right now, what region are you covering? Do you go throughout the entire United States? Are you focused? Because I think the last I checked, we're at like 33 million just here in the state of Texas. There's a lot of businesses, a lot just here in Montgomery County. Between Montgomery County and Harris, there's a lot of businesses. But we got a pretty large state, but that also doesn't mean that you don't go into Louisiana or Oklahoma or Kansas or our other surrounding states. Kind of how are you balancing that?
Yeah, so right now I'm taking wherever the customer is, I go to. I'll take the trailer to wherever their location is, high schools, colleges, businesses, wherever it may be. Right now, I have worked so far in Oklahoma. That's where I did the training for CESA. In 2 weeks, I should say earlier last year, towards the end of last year, I did training for a concrete company. So I have mixer trucks on my simulation too, and I went out and I trained about 15 of their employees, and they liked it so much that now we're doing on a quarterly basis 20 to 30 of their drivers every quarter. So in 2 weeks, the first week of March, I'll be in Baton Rouge doing training for this same concrete company for 20 to 30 or more of their employees.
Well, that's fantastic. So you are finding that when you start doing business with a company, that it is driving business to other locations that they have also.
Correct. Yes.
Well, great. So when you're looking through everything that you're doing, as you go through these massive training events you do, when you get back to the privacy of your own office, do you find, is there anything that you're adding to it for consistency that you see? If I add this, your knowledge will lend to things that you can go, if I add this to the program, it's going to help. Are you seeing anything like that? Or
So basically what we do is we offer, even though I have a set course or set courses, I offer the opportunity for the customer to add curriculum in there. So if let's say they need a particular focus on something, we can add it to the course.
So what are you finding now still keeps you motivated as you go through with the business?
Saving lives, preventing vehicle crashes, saving companies money, preventing a parent from having to bury their kid, right? So those things is what keeps me going.
So with all that being said, Do you have any story that sticks with you of either a customer or a student where you know that you can sit back and they've told you, this is what you taught me and this is how it made a difference?
I would say yes. So when I trained about 3,000 AT&T employees. And when I got away from AT&T, or we finished that project, I actually had an AT&T technician come to the house. And we got to talking about, driver training and stuff like that. And she's like, oh, yeah, we went through the driver training with the simulator. I said, how'd you like it? She goes, it was pretty cool. I said, did it help you out in anything? She goes, I ran over little Timmy. So I was like, and I know what scenario she's talking about. There's a kid that walks out from between two parked cars. And if you're not scanning properly, you run little Timmy over. And she came in, and when I was asking her that, she said, yeah, I ran little Timmy over. I said, so what did you learn of that? And this was 2 years after she went through the training. And she basically said that she learned that she wasn't scanning properly. And I basically asked her, what are you doing now? She said, I scan for everything. I look under vehicles, looking for feet. I look through the glass of vehicles to see if there's somebody standing on the other side. So it played a major part in her defensive driving techniques that most people don't even understand.
Just at our grocery stores, we find it is hard now to read people. There's a segment of society that you better stop for them because they will pretend they don't see you.
Yes.
My parents always taught me that vehicle's bigger than me. Don't let my attitude overload my behind. But an example, I was leaving the grocery store the other day, and it is pouring down rain. So I didn't have my umbrella. I pulled a jacket up over my head. I had scanned both ways. There was nobody there. Somebody then whipped out there. That lady had no concern. She did not care that I was walking out there. She did not care it was pouring down rain. She would have run over me and dealt with the cost of her being prosecuted because in this situation, I was already in the crosswalks where they are protected. And I noticed, and as I shouldn't do this, but as I looked in the vehicle, I thought, and you are the same person that would walk straight in front of me and basically expect me to stop, and so as I watched that, I've thought, that's stuff that some of your training would teach as people are going into crosswalks and areas like that.
Yes.
Where you're thinking for that customer because you are the larger entity, and you need to make sure that you protect the customer too of the business because they're not going to protect themselves in most things.
And that's a great point that you bring up, right? People don't think about the what ifs. So in my training class, I always teach them, if you're driving, you identify a risk. Or even if you think about, well, what if somebody's in this crosswalk in this pouring down rain? So once you have that methodology, you're going to come through there nice and slow, and you're going to be scanning left, right, left, all around that vehicle to make sure that nobody is in that crosswalk. So we teach those techniques on the simulator.
Yeah, well, impact businesses earn loyalty, and the more you provide impact, the more I believe you're going to see others businesses as they grow carry you along with you because they're going to need you. Because ultimately, we'll go back to that concrete company. The more you're training them, the more their commercial auto rates are going to come down because the claims ratios are going to come down.
Correct.
So where do you see Training Wheelz USA in, let's say, 5 years?
I would say being a preferred driver training platform throughout the whole United States.
So as you grow this, are you doing much with cities, with the community, with commercial businesses, or how are you growing your business?
Right now, it's been commercial. What I'm targeting is high schools and colleges, right? Because the highest risk drivers are the ones from the age of 16 to 24 years old. Right? And that's because lack of seat time is what they call it, right? And on the simulator, I can actually teach, in a 4-hour class, I will teach you more in that 4-hour class than what you'll learn in 30 years of driving. Case in point, when I did this, the driver training for this concrete company in Louisiana, I had one driver in there said, that he had been driving for 35 years and he never knew all these techniques. That's 35 years of a CDL driver not knowing the proper driving techniques, and he loved it, right? So it works. The program works.
So I kind of want to break down some stuff in here. So let's say you're going to want to get in with one of our local colleges.
Yes.
Walk me through kind of your process of how you start that, who you're looking to talk to, and what you're looking to do for that college.
So I would say talking to the heads that run the college, maybe the board of directors, actually sitting down with them, doing a demo, bringing my trailer to the college, let them try it, let them see, and then see if we can offer that program to the public. Now, keep in mind that the fees are not charged to the college or high schools, right? The fees are charged to the students. So, and I keep for students in college, for college students and high school students, I keep the cost very low, way below of what this type of training normally costs. And the reason for that is I had high school students too, right? I had 4 kids going through high school. So I know the cost of, all their schooling material. They got your proms coming up, you got your graduation gowns, all that stuff, right? So I try and keep my costs low for them, and hoping that people will see the benefit of, what this program does.
So I've seen your simulators in there. Do you also, let's say you get in with the college or somewhere, is everything dedicated to one-on-one like what I've seen, or do you also have classroom environment where maybe you're going to do 50 students where they're all showing interest? And would you start out in a classroom and then isolate them down to smaller groups to come into your training facility, or that and I know it's mobile and you can bring it to it, but kind of how does that work?
So we have one simulator right now, and it's one instructor per simulator. Why we do that is because you want that 2-to-1 ratio. So 2 students per 1 instructor. That way you have a face-to-face interaction with that instructor. So that's the best way. Eventually, when we get bigger, we'll have 42-foot trailers with 2 simulators in it, which means we'll be able to train 4 students at the same time, and then we'll have 2 instructors. So one instructor will take 2 students to the front simulator. One instructor will work with 2 students in the back of the back simulator.
Good deal. So now we've discussed the college. Now let's say that you are working on this and you're wanting to get in with local high schools.
Mm-hmm.
A district has, let's say, 4 high schools in it. And so who would you approach at that point in the high school area?
Same thing, probably the board of directors, right? They're the drivetrain for the high school. Get them familiar with this type of training, and then offer it to the public, offer to parents, right? Come in and do a demo at the high school, and bring the simulator in and have the parents look at it and try it and see the benefits behind that type of training. So
would that be the school board that you were wanting to talk to there, or?
I would say the school board. Right now it's been difficult because the schools generally make you bid on getting in there, which to me is kind of tough because I'm not charging the school. So I'm just offering it to their students. So that's the biggest hurdle I have with high schools.
So are the schools in their current model wanting a big base price for them when they bring in something like your business, or is this something new to them where you'll come in, serve a purpose for them, and charge back the parents and the students?
I believe this is new because all the high schools I've talked about, like, we never heard of this type of training. They basically that's their comments that I'm receiving back from them.
So with that being the case, is that making it more difficult to get in front of them to actually show them your product, or?
It is. Yeah, it makes it very difficult.
So now let's move into corporations, because I think you're doing quite a few corporations.
Yes.
Is that an initial sit down with the CEO where you're looking to market to get in with them? And is that coming from word of mouth, or are you having them hear about you? And do they understand the cost savings that down the road they can be seeing with their insurances?
Yeah, so we generally we'll get a phone call from word of mouth, say, hey, this guy told me about your driver training program. We're having some issues. We're having some some claims that we need to prevent, and deal with, and we want to know if you can come in and help us out. So at that point, we discuss, the cost of the training and then the benefits. Right now, we're seeing on an average for companies have reported back an average of a 12-to-1 ROI, return on that investment. And that's pretty good. I've also seen companies achieve a much higher return on their investment. So for doing this type of training. So it all depends on the company and how much they push this methodology, and reminding their drivers, hey, we got to focus on the defense driving techniques or even the smart driving techniques, right? It's another course that I offer. That's a 2-hour class. So
when you approach a corporation, are you selling their benefits of reducing their claims with their insurance, or what is your technique? I'm the CEO of XYZ, and you want to come in, and I've got 4 locations and drivers at each location.
Yeah.
What's kind of your approach with me? Because I'm going, well, Dean, I'm willing to have a talk with you, but outside of your name and what I've researched, tell me how this helps me.
Yeah, it does. We go over the cost savings, right? Insurance. It also, keep in mind, if you're a company CEO, you know that if one of your drivers has a major vehicle crash and it results in a fatality, you're looking at a minimum of a $3 million lawsuit, minimum. So if we can prevent that one fatality, you just paid your class off, right? Your course is off. So it's a huge benefit.
So we've discussed a little bit about some of our cities. You're wanting to get involved in more cities. Now tell me what that would entail. So let's say you get one of our cities to go, Dean, let's talk. You're looking at county services, I'm guessing, city services to get in to teach their drivers. Is that with the city, or are you also looking through the city to be able to offer services to individuals? That is, they're hearing from the city, hey, we've contracted with this company. They're training our drivers, but they're also offering this to our citizens. What's your vision for that program?
I would say both, to be honest with you. Like, the more people I can help, the better off our society will be, so to speak, and the more savings the insurance industry will save as well. Vehicle crashes in the U.S., like I said, cost the United States on an average of $862 billion a year. That's insane. That's a lot of money going out. And then at the end of it, who has to pay that or make that money up? And that's the consumer. That's us, right? That's why insurance premiums go so high.
Yeah. As you work through this, what do you see are your different marketing methods? Because with each business, we've got the colleges, we've got the high schools, we've got the cities, we've got the corporations. Are you seeing where you vary your marketing somewhat to attack each target individual that you know to what they're wanting to see? Because you've got a great message. To me, the biggest challenge you have is complete understanding of what you're offering.
Right.
With that. So I'm curious as to what you're seeing with that.
Yeah. So I'm saying we pertain to, or when I market, of course, I do it myself, right? So I don't have an automatic or an AI-generated marketing. I'll actually sit down and send out marketing campaigns for the college, or a separate one for high school students, or trying to get the word out to their parents. Corporations right now is the biggest thing is word of mouth, working with the Chamber of Commerce's, right? I'm a member of 2 of them, of course, the Conroe, or the Southwest Chamber of Commerce, and the Houston Chamber of Commerce. I'm a member of both of those. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to sit down and join in with the Conroe Chamber of Commerce.
So Conroe, Lake Conroe.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah.
Yeah, you've got a good group there. Southwest Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, you've got a good group there.
Yeah.
Are you doing anything with the Woodlands Chamber of Commerce?
I have not yet. Yeah, not yet.
There's another good group for you to get into.
Thank you. I appreciate that insight, that information.
Yeah. I'm heavily involved in the Southwest Montgomery County Chamber.
Yes, sir.
Conroe, Lake Conroe, I'm also a member. I absolutely adore their staff. They are amazing. There's just only so many hours in the day. My daughter is a member of the Woodlands Chamber of Commerce, and she's a realtor, and she really likes that chamber with the help that they provide her. So I know from ins and outs of all three that they both are good bodies to work with that I think can help you accomplish your goals.
Great. Well, thank you.
You know, how now do you personally define success?
By saving a life.
Yeah.
Realistically, I mean,
you know, our vision expands as our knowledge grows, and you've got a great knowledge base, and as you can teach those that you're working with what your vision and knowledge is, I think you'll really see your business grow there too.
yeah.
You know, so after work, how do you recharge when you're not working? So I know that you are married how many years now?
34.
34.
It'll be 34 March 21st.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Especially since you remember that. That's a big plus. That'll keep you out of trouble.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You know, I'm getting married in November, and I also picked our anniversary date of every year we're dating because I knew it would help keep me out of trouble because I wouldn't forget
right?
it.
Yeah, never forget.
You know, do you find that your personal passions influence how you lead, or have you done a better job than a lot of us have where you can separate that from your business? Because I have to force myself not to sell out of my own pockets and my own passions.
Yeah, so I kind of separate them. So I like doing, I'm a musician also. I'm a drummer and a vocalist, so I generally play around. I haven't played with the drums for a while. In fact, I just donated my drum set to a young lady who is an intern at a church. So now to, save up again and buy myself another new 9-piece drum set if I could. But to recharge, like I said, music is my biggest thing. I've been in the music world since I was 10 years old. Been playing the drums for a long time. So that I also like putting together. I'm a Star Trek fan, so like building the Star Trek models, ships of the ships. So I like that. My grandkids, for my birthday, my grandkids gave me a Lego Ford Bronco. And this thing's pretty impressive. I mean, it's got all the gears for the gear ratios for the axle and everything, and all these little gears. I was like, this thing's pretty impressive.
So it's not the Lego systems we grew up with, is it?
No, totally different. I mean, this thing's pretty impressive, but I like doing it. Right, it's relaxing, and I'll spend hours just putting this thing together, or models together.
So what have you found keeps you grounded? Is it dinner with your wife or coffee with your wife on the front
I would say
porch,
my
or-
wife is one, right? The second thing is God, right? That's what keeps me grounded, right? If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have this business. Yep.
Yeah. Now you said you've got kids too,
Yes.
and are they all grown?
Yes, they are. They're in their 30s and 20s.
And you got grandkids.
I do.
Now there's where the fun comes in. I have
Yes.
two.
Yeah, that's another thing that I think they get me more wound up because they're so high energy. I mean, all 5 kids, and they come over to the house like, oh man, here we go, right? But I love it, right? So, especially the little one who's 2 years old, and he's into everything. I mean, everything. So it keeps you running around the house for sure.
You ever sit back? There are times as being a grandpa now, I go by Pop, that I sit back and think of the things that do not frustrate me, but I can very much remember similar things because my daughter was born when I was 21. So when she graduated high school, I was 39. She had a young dad that was determined to be responsible. And I remember her years ago asking, Dad, how do you do as a parent? I said, it's pretty simple. Lord, don't let me kill him and keep him out of trouble. Don't let him die. I've got to keep him from dying. I got to keep from killing him. Tongue in cheek, but and I went,
Oh, I know exactly how you feel.
if you can do that, you're going to be doing pretty good because
Yes.
all of us are just learning. And I went, and once you have one, if you have another one, everybody's told me that next one's different too than the
Yes.
first one. So
Oh,
you're
they're all
learning all
different.
over again there.
Yes, they're all different. I mean, I have 3 girls, and my youngest is my son. So totally different. All 4 of them.
I know I've reflected with spending time, and I've thought that frustrated me as a dad, as a grandpa, it's funny. And at that point, I don't know about you, but I've also looked back and went, my goodness, I was hard on my daughter. And I don't mean hard as in inappropriate, but I mean regimented as far as certain goals in my mind I set to make sure that I had her on track to be responsible.
Yeah.
And she's very responsible, an amazing mom, wife. But I also sit back and sometimes now at my age think, how much of her childhood was taken away from her because I was so determined for her to grow up and be responsible, to where I could have let her have a little bit more fun. And not that she didn't have fun, but I think as parents we can sit back, especially with a type A personality like mine, where you set certain goals constantly, whether you're realizing it or not. And as you achieve them, then you set another. And my daughter, my son-in-law, they are amazing. Grandkids are amazing, but there are times I go, I probably should let her have more fun. I remember Dad telling me once, you're too hard on her, and my response was, how many times have you bailed me out, and how many times have you floated me a check? Well, I haven't. Well, I'm raising her the way you did. Oh, but then I realized I probably was a little step more than Dad was in how I raised her, and went, oh my goodness.
When my kids were growing up, I was pretty strict. But to see them as individuals today, I'm proud of them.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
They and stuff that you don't think that they pick up on is amazing to see when they get older. They actually are doing it. Like, I taught you that, right? So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of times my reflection is, when you ask me about something, you don't have to do what I recommend.
Yep.
But at least show me you're listening. I went to my dad all the time. And another businessman, I've always been that person from a young age where I wanted a lot of different advice, maybe 4 or 5. They might not know why I'm doing it, but I'm putting it in my reserve bank so I can make decisions. And I remember Dad at one time going, son, you ask me for advice, but you don't do what I do. No, sir, but you have no idea how often I take what you do, and a portion of what you do becomes a part of the decision that I make.
Right.
And at least then they're listening. I don't think it's till we get older that we look at those in their early 20s as they're telling us how dumb we are, and you're going, your frontal cortex isn't even fully developed until you're 25 to 30. Just, but you're smiling, going, I didn't learn either until I was older. And then I went, man, my dad was actually pretty smart. My mom was pretty smart, and I wasn't quite as smart as I thought I was. But only age brings you back to that point.
I agree.
So. What advice would you give to parents or business owners? You have a lot of advice, Dean, so kind of lay out some advice to parents and then lay some out for business owners.
I would say the biggest thing is make sure your teenager is properly trained, right? Put them in an environment where you can throw things at them in a safe, controlled environment. So that's my advice, right? Because your student or your teenager is not going to learn how to stay out of trouble unless you physically put them in that. And you can't do that in your vehicle or in a practical training sense, where I can do it on a simulator, even if it's not me, right? Even if you don't use Training Wheels USA.
So.
There are other simulated driver training companies out there, but most of those that I've seen do not cater to teenagers or colleges. They go after the big companies because they want the multi-million-dollar contracts. I'm different. I care about people's lives. Yeah. And like I said, the money comes, but my concern is preventing vehicle crashes and to save lives. That's my concern.
Yeah, prevention is cheaper than repair.
Yeah.
So as we start to wind down, from a generic standpoint, what are some of the things you do with your grandkids? And I know you and your wife, Grandma and Grandpa, that you guys do with your grandkids that kind of let you wind down but bring joy to you, as it's bringing joy to your grandkids.
We take them to parks. We'll take all 5 of them to the park. And of course, I need extra arms to take care of that, but we manage it, right? So we do that. We also built we have a room that's a game room. We turn that into a playroom. I mean, you come in there, it's like Barbie City. I got over 400 Matchbox cars for the boys. I painted on the walls. I painted half of the wall is magnet paint, so they can put all their magnet stuff up there. And the other side, I painted as a chalkboard, so they get to draw on it. They do all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is taking them places and enjoying them. The kids creating memories.
Yeah.
Is what it is. My wife always says, you want to create memories. Do I do it all the time? No, because I'm always, I need to learn to actually stop what I'm doing work-wise and focus more on the grandkids.
That's kind of hard, but with those two things that you did with paint, it's a lot more fun to let them draw on the wall than to sit back and go, don't do that.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, they enjoy it. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we're going to head into the lightning round. First car you ever owned?
1978 Ford Mustang King Cobra. That was my first car.
Sweet.
Yeah, that was my first car.
No wonder you had to found driving training.
When did I do what?
That's why you had to found a company doing driver's training.
That was when I was 18 years old. So
yeah, I had a Z28.
Okay.
And a couple of Mustang GTs.
There you go.
But two of them were his kids, so driver's training is needed.
Yes.
Now, the roads weren't as populated back then either, so I look back at things that happened and go, it was very forgiving for me where God protected me.
Yeah.
That in those same roads now, there would not be the space for me to have the errors that I had back then. I mean, we're going back to the 80s, so I mean, there's a lot of years in between there.
Yeah. Where I'm from western central New Jersey, so it was all farmland and fields, so we had open road pretty much. And I haven't been back there in 15 years, and people have said that all those areas have been built up. So I'm just curious to know what, the traffic is there now.
Dad grew up in another state that was a farmer state too, and I've heard stories of him drag racing on ice and putting that vehicle on top of its roof.
Yep. Yep.
The things you learn once you're grown that your parents did that all of a sudden help explain some of the rules that your parents had on you while they're raising you, and it is from their experiences going, don't want that to happen.
Right.
So what is your favorite road trip snack?
I would say it's pumpkin seeds.
Pumpkin seeds.
I like pumpkin seeds. Yeah.
Early mornings or late nights?
Mornings. Yeah, mornings.
One driving habit people need to break immediately for?
Proper following distance.
Yeah, entirely too close.
Way too close. And I mean, it's killer too, because if you look through the driver's manual, it says to maintain a 2-car length following distance. That sets you up for failure right there. And that's in the book, and I've reached out to the state and say, hey, you guys got to change this. It needs to be a minimum 4 to 5 second following distance. Big difference in car lengths.
Yeah. Well, and I even think as the area here in Montgomery County has become more and more populated, that following distance needs to grow. 4 to 5 seconds now is not what 4 to 5 seconds was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Now there's nowhere to go to get around. There used to be areas where if that car stopped, there was a shoulder or there was hardly anybody on the road, so it might have even been the other side of the road to let them get out of the way. And, I've found that cars that like to tailgate like at night when there's nobody else here, I'll move into the other lane and I'll intentionally slow way back and make them get in front of me.
Yeah, make them go around.
You're not going to blind me all the way home with your lights, and I don't want you riding my tail. And I've found that I don't even think it's intentional. I think it's habitual. They get to driving, they get up on somebody else. They really don't want to be that lead car because in their mind, that means perception is I could get the ticket.
Yeah. And
mine is you're not going to get right up on me when there's plenty of room on the road and nobody else out here, and I'll just avoid the situation.
Yeah, from what I'm seeing, and when we do that segment in my training, people say, well, if I leave that much space, somebody's going to fill it. Exactly right. But as you're a defense driver, you recognize that hazard and just back off and get your space cushion again, right? It's not a big deal. People are, I'm going to lose 30 minutes of time. That's not true. If you let people in front of you and leave them that space, the time lost is 0.23 seconds.
Yeah,
That's
I
nothing.
didn't realize it was that nothing. My attitude was, I get home safe.
Yeah.
You go do you, drive how you want. But especially when I have a day where I've got a lot on my mind, I want plenty of room so that I can drive safely and know that I am working to keep my mind on my driving and not on other activities that my mind wants to. I do a lot of books on Audible so that I can focus, and it will take one part of my brain. I asked a doctor one time why I was studying for FINRA's securities exams and why I could have a radio on and study better than when it was off. And they said with the way my brain worked, that one thing of white noise calmed my mind down for it to study.
Interesting.
That is not saying two conversations. It was just the extra activity of a radio or something that you don't have to pay attention to, but it's just lightly in the background that would settle it down.
Yep.
Well, Dean, what is one word that defines your leadership style?
That's a good one. I would say definitive. There's another word for not definitive, but geez, I can't even think of it right now. But it's more in a line of making sure everything is set just right and being patient about it.
I was going to say patience because you had some patience with me.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've learned years ago I didn't have those patience. I was like I said, from New Jersey, we're like, get it done and get it done now, right? But I've learned over the years you have to be patient, right? Because you're teaching people techniques that they really don't know 100%. So you have to be patient. But I see that it does work in time.
Now, Dean, I thank you for coming in. I appreciate you sharing your story. To our listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Genuine Business Stories. If you're enjoying our show, please consider becoming a sponsor. If it was not for Lone Star Radio Station, then this show's not possible. There are a lot of different shows that Lone Star is responsible for, so we do need sponsors back to the radio station, and we appreciate all your help. If you can't sponsor, then go out and just make a donation to help them,
I thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
We've really enjoyed it. And to our business owners, if you've got a story worth sharing, reach out. We want to have you on. We hope to have you as one of our next guests so that we can get your story out about your business. We find that the stories behind our businesses, they mean a lot to the owners, but they mean a lot to the community too. And it's also how the community can find you. Dean, real quick, tell people how they can find you. Give them their social media, your social media or phone number or whatever you want to, email address on how they can get in touch with your business. And
so you can go
your
to
business name too.
My apologies, Clint. So you can go to trainingwheels with a Z, USA.com, or you can reach me direct at 832-585-3170, and that'll ring right to my personal cell phone.
Fantastic. Dean's equipment, it's absolutely amazing. You'll love it for your children. It'll give you peace of mind as parents. I used to tell my daughter, I loved you, we raised you, and when I finally got peace of mind was that day that you got married and you become my son-in-law's responsibility. And then it wasn't that we don't still worry, but it was able to shut my brain off, because then it was between her and her husband as to when they came home or what they were doing. And what you do, I believe, will give parents a lot of peace of mind, knowing that they've done everything possible to give their kids the proper training to be behind that wheel.
Yeah, thank you.
For everybody else, thanks for showing up. I want you to keep showing up, keep building, and keep it genuine, and have a fantastic day. Thank you very much.